Hey everyone, I've got a new type of video series on this YouTube. It's going to be me covering the most recent premier tournament of StarCraft 2. I'm going to be talking about each day, each group, whatever it is, and then the results, the implications of the tournament, and so on and so forth. In this video, I'm going to be going into the opening week of Blizzcon, the WCS Global Finals that happened this past weekend. 4 days, 4 groups, 1 group each day. I'm going to be including the results of each day, so if it wasn't already obvious, then spoiler alert, and then talking about the implications of what we saw, some Stormhost latest stuff, as well as talk a little bit about the upcoming round of 8 that is happening November 1st, Friday at Blizzcon. Starting off on Thursday was Group A. The longest group of the opening week clocked in at a whopping 9 hours and was chock full of great games and game number 5s. Showtime started off strong against his first opponent, Dark, but the series ended poorly with an inability to fight off Swarm host Nidus, a style that will end up plaguing a lot of these groups.
Nidus is, I think that one is going to finish uninhibited inside of his main. There's a lot of pricey tech here. If he's able to get a wave of Locust out, he could kill almost everything in here.
Special showcased battlecruiser after battlecruiser, mech and bio, and gave us some epic TVZs with Sue and some short games with Hellbat attacks, Roach Ravager all-ins, so on and so forth, but was unable to hold to the last game and was forced to the losers bracket. The winner's match was a ZVZ slugfest going all the way to game number 5, ending with Dark taking first place in the group.
These Roaches losing these Ravagers, and it seems like we have our first quarter finalist of the WCS Global Finals 2019, and it is going to be Dark, but he had to work.
The losers match pitted the two non-Koreans against each other in what is fast becoming one of my favorite matchups, Terran versus Protoss. After witnessing Hero Marine vs. Showtime in WCS Fall, I think we were all hoping for something equally as brilliant. Things started off with Showtime showing off his Disruptor control and netting him a win. Special's able to take the next map, what would be dispatched in a surprising 3-1. A player who had become a staple of BlizzCon gets last in Group A. The final series of Group A thankfully didn't include as many Swarm hosts, but instead showcased the variety of both players with cannon rushes and proxy hatcheries. Unfortunately, we can only go so long without a Zerg bringing out Swarm hosts. Things ended with Sue bringing out a Roach Ravager Baneling push that Showtime just simply could not hold, dispatching the last non-Korean from the group and getting Sue and Dark advancing forward into the round of 8. Group B. The most anticipated group held Maru, Serral, Time, and Stats. Neeb would say that he at least didn't get Time's group in his interview just a few days after this group, but Time was able to hold his own versus Maru in a TVT, and then some. Time would prove that his micro, macro, multitasking, and decision-making can not only take on Maru, but also topple him in a TVT. Stats for Serral is a classic robbery at this point. It can also feel obvious who's going to win at this point, too. And guess who won? Serral, 3-0. Time for Serral seems to be a lot about Time forcing Serral to adjust to how good Time really is. These two have played a few matches previous to the winner's match of Group B, and Time has always showcased some really good Terran versus Zerg in maybe one of the games of a best of 5. Same thing happened here. Time played super well in game number 1, yet Serral just played a little bit better. After that game 1 loss, Time just simply could not recover and seemed to deflate against the Titan that is Serral. Serral takes the winner's match 3-0, though I do highly suggest watching game number 1, even with this spoiler, and will advance on first in Group B. Luckily, the surprising losers match gave us a look at two juggernauts of their respective races facing off against each other, Maru versus Stats. Unfortunately, it was another 3-0. The theme of the group stages kinda seemed to be great first series and the rest are one-sided. We did see more disruptor usage though, and that's always fun. This does mean that last year's runner-up for the global finals, the guy that tried to take on Serral to keep Korean domination in StarCraft 2, yet could not quite do so, is knocked out last, 4th in Group B. The TVT rematch proved why we have our legends and why we have our get 'em next years. Despite a strong performance in their first series of the day, Time just simply can't repeat the performance against perhaps a more experienced player. Maru takes the second TVT between the two in a 3-0 fashion. This means you guys don't have to fret. We could still get Serral versus Maru in the finals of WCS Global Finals at Blizzcon. But we probably won't. Group C seemed to be the group of non-Koreans have the most chance hype. Classic was barely allowed to compete and wasn't looking unbeatable, and Hero, despite making it to the global finals, was an odd but overcomable obstacle. Hero Marine brought back a 0-2 deficit to overcome Classic 3-2 in the first series of the day, partially because of Classic giving Hero Marine momentum back with a failed attack in game number 3. Raynor started off strong against Hero with a great Warp Prism snipe, but started to struggle against the Smiling Assassin. Fortunately, Raynor's gained a hell of a lot of experience, studying himself in a best of 5, and brought the series back in his favor to send him to the winner's match. 2 non-Koreans in the winner bracket again, for what was hopefully going to be another 3-2. But nope. Despite some pretty awesome games, the series ended 3-0 in Raynor's favor. If you're hoping for a Raynor vs. Serral rematch, you're in luck. Classic vs. Hero in the losers match lived up to the wackiness of Hero and PvP in general, with some distinct openers and playstyles. At the end of the day, however, Classic proved to be the better Protoss. The decider match was a rematch between Classic and Hero Marine. Unfortunately, in a tale about as old as time, or at least StarCraft 2, the rematch between the non-Korean and the Korean favored the Korean. While Hero Marine is no stranger to rematches, there's always been something about a Foreigner Hope winning the first series and then ultimately losing out in the decider rematch that has been consistent throughout StarCraft. And what's worse is that it was a 0-3. But maybe that's how it was supposed to be in the first place, and Classic was just righting the world. Either way, Classic advances second in Group C. Group D. The group of PvZs. How many Swarmhost Nidus plays will we see? Thankfully, not much from the first series. Laser proved his proficiency in late-game ZVP against Trap for the first game, but was unable to defend Trap's relentless Stargate play in the next 3 games and fell 3-1. The USA Hope admitted weakness to the PvZ matchup in his pregame interview, but it was more a weakness to Rogue's brutal Swarmhost Nidus play in this series. Like, seriously brutal. Like, how is this fun to watch brutal? But I'm biased. Neeb actually brought it to game number 5, but ultimately died to those Nidus shenanigans. Rogue also takes the time to say,
he says, of course, Neeb is a very, very good player, but personally, I think right now with the way things are balanced, as long as the Zerg player, plays even a little bit well, I think it's really hard for a Protoss player to win. So as soon as I found out that I was facing a Protoss player, I was very, very happy about that. And
for the winner's match, could Trap do any better against Rogue? It seemed like it, but not really. Rogue takes out his Protoss opponents and gets a 3-1 over Trap to advance first in Group D and is sent to the round of 8 in Anaheim, California. The non-Koreans face each other in the losers match, and the question seems to be, will a Laser abuse Nidus Worms against Neeb? Well, a Laser didn't necessarily need to. Perhaps off-kilter from his previous PvZ, Neeb falters against a Laser's early attack and his late-game Broodlord Infestor. He brings the series back against, funnily enough, a Nidus Worm all-in, but fails to defend an overwhelming Zerg army in game number 4, having him drop out as 4th in Group D. Trap faces yet another aggressive Zerg in a laser for this decider match. Unlike Neeb, Trap holds a laser's first push in game number 1. Things get wacky in game number 2, and a laser once again proves he can handle late game ZVP. Things once again go late game in game number 3, but Trap gets some revenge. Game 4 has a bit of a fantasy GG timing from Trap, to be honest, but the score is evened. Game 5 ends in Trap's favor, and he completes the top 8, going to those grand finals at Blizzcon. Let's take a look at the round of 8 bracket. We have Serral versus Sue, Raynor versus Trap, Rogue versus Classic, and Dark versus Maru. If you look real close there, I know you guys can do it, you'll see that Serral versus Maru is in fact a possible grand finals at BlizzCon. That would be the sickest match, not just because the two of them are amazing players, but also because we would all love a TVZ finals. However, is it really possible? Maru has not performed when it seems like all the stars have aligned for him to actually face Serral, and even when they have faced each other, it really maybe wasn't the best series ever. But BlizzCon could be different. My predictions for the round of 8 and so on goes as such. I believe Serral will 3-1 Sue, Raynor will 3-1 Trap, Rogue will 3-0 Classic, and Dark will 3-1 Maru. Serral versus Raynor then, in the round of 4, will go in Serral's favor, but with a 3-2. And then Dark will be able to beat Rogue in a ZDZ 3-1. That's right, I predict all Zergs in the round of 4, but I actually don't think that's too absurd of a prediction. For the finals, I believe that Serral will take it 4-1 against Dark and prove once again he is the best player in the world. But those are just my silly predictions. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think is going to be the entire bracket, including who actually wins those grand finals. And if you are planning on not watching because you have to work or you have to sleep in your weird time zone, none of those excuses, okay? You have got to be watching this live no matter what. And if you don't, ZombieGrub will be very disappointed in you. Because I want to keep this video short and sweet for those only looking for the results of this past weekend, I'm actually going to save the discussion about the tournament and predictions as well for part 2 of this video coming out just tomorrow, right after this one. So thanks for watching, guys, and make sure to look forward to the second video. Bye-bye.